Hello and welcome to Cult Classic Society. Tim, it is cold outside. There's no kind of atmosphere. We're all alone, more or less. And we're here to talk about Red Dwarf. And I'm so happy.
Yes.
Also, welcome to Cult Classic Society. This is the podcast where I, Bobby Davies, and my pal Tim Martini. Say hi, Tim.
Hi, Tim.
Every time. Talk about movies, we talk about TV, we talk about music, we talk about video games. One day we might talk about a book. We promised it at the beginning and we still haven't done it. You know why? Making notes on a whole book would take a long time.
Look, we've talked about adaptations of books. I think that's the closest we'll get for now.
You know what, Tim? I'm going to say it now, and I'm not going to say it for any time or specific time or even any time soon. We'll do something like Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy. Because, one, I know I bang on about it all the time on here. But two, it's actually not a very long book, and it's also a classic. So we'll do it. Plus, the thing we're talking about today is clearly massively inspired by it.
Absolutely.
There's a bit of a lineage with stuff like this that I've always thought. It goes Hitchhikers, Red Dwarf, and then we go on to like more modern ones like Rick and Morty, and the inspiration is there. There's like a lineage of inspiration. You can really see it. It's 40 episodes, Timothy. We're here. We're going to talk about what is undeniably fulfilling our promise to everyone. This is a cult classic. Red Dwarf is absolutely up there as one of those cult phenomenons. To my mind, one of the earliest proper sci-fi sitcoms. Like I said, the only thing I could think that came before it was Hitchhikers. So it kind of paved the way for this thing that we're seeing loads of now.
Oh yeah,
There's quite a few comedy sci-fi.
It was really it was one of a kind, like when it first came out.
Yeah, for sure. Created by Rob Grant and Doug Naylor. They produced and wrote and did everything together right up until series 6 or 7, I believe it was.
I believe it was 7, yeah.
Yeah, and we aren't going to be covering the first episode or even the first series at all. So I think I want to do a quick rundown of what happens, how the show's set up, what the situation for this comedy is, if you will. The show is set on a deep space mining craft called Red Dwarf. It's a mining vessel that is staffed by hundreds of thousands. They definitely say at one point it's hundreds and at another point they say it's thousands. That's sitcom writing for you. And our two main characters, Arnold Rimmer, played by the awesome Chris Barry, and Dave Lister, played by Craig Childs, are vending machine technicians aboard the ship. They are the lowest of the low. They fix the chicken soup machines, and Lister is one rung below Rimmer. Rimmer holds that over Lister the whole time. He is a grade 2 technician?
Yeah.
And Lister's a grade 1 technician. But they're also bunkmates. They share a cabin because they're essentially on the same team, I guess. Now, Tim, did you notice my t-shirt?
London Jets. Oh.
I've got this is one of the ones that Lister wears in the show.
Yeah.
It's his 0G football team, the London Jets. And in fact, I don't normally wear grey. Grey's not my colour. A lot of black, occasionally white, but very rarely grey. But Lister wears a grey one, so I got the grey one. So
Nice.
Lister, this is all still in the first episode, he sneaks a cat onto the ship, but he gets caught. The captain says he either has to give up the cat or he goes into stasis, so being frozen in time, and he won't get paid for the rest of the trip. He chooses the stasis. Lister is not a grass. He's a lot of things, but he's not a grass.
Also, it's a cat. Like, he doesn't want to give up a cat.
Whilst Lister's in stasis, there is a radiation leak, and the entire crew gets killed. After 3 million years, Lister is woken up by their computer, Holly. The reason Holly waited 3 million years is because he had to wait for the radiation to die down from the leak that killed everyone. And this whole time, the whole 3 million years, they've been travelling away from Earth. Apparently it never occurred to Holly to maybe 1.5 million years, guessing how long the radiation would be, to turn back round. Never occurred to Holly. Holly's meant to be a supercomputer with high intelligence, but they are broken. Rimmer, who died, has been brought back as a hologram, which the ship can do. It can have hologrammatic crew members, but it can only sustain one. And Holly thinks that Rimmer is the one that should come back to keep Lister company. It's explained later that Rimmer is the kind of one that can keep Lister from going crazy because he gives him something to be annoyed at. Because he's such so fastidious, such a fuddy-duddy. He's got to stick up his arse, he obeys the rules, and Lister is a slob, and essentially Lister's us.
Yeah.
and Lister is supposed to be every
that
man.
bad.
But I meant us as an audience, not us specifically.
Okay.
Lister is meant to be every man. He's meant to be just a standard dude. He got a job aboard this ship. He doesn't really love it. He's just doing it for the cash. And he's now stuck 3 million years in the future. Yeah. Lister's cats. The cat that he snuck aboard the ship. That cat survived as well. What Lister didn't know is that cat was also pregnant. 3 million years in the future, the offspring of Lister's original cat have evolved into Felis sapiens, humanoid cats. So they look like humans, except they're incredibly vain and have massive pointy teeth. And this is where we get the third crew member. One of those cats is called Cat, and he's found in the first episode, and he joins the crew. So it's the three of them in the first series. He is played by Danny John-Jules, brilliant comic actor, but I've just realised this. My notes, I must have accidentally hit something because it says Tabby John-Jules, which is really funny because he plays Cat.
You were doing a pun.
Yes, that is the setup. That is Red Dwarf. Now, as anyone who maybe is a casual fan or think, oh, that's quite funny, when they're skipping past Dave, the channel, not Dave Lister, and sees it's on, they watch
the episode. It was named after him.
It is. The channel Dave is named after Lister in Red Dwarf, which is also a lovely little factoid. Thanks for ruining my facts from the end, Tim.
So I was making a reference to Back to Earth.
You know that there is a fourth member, Crichton. Now, Crichton actually doesn't join the team full-time until Series 3.
Yes.
But he does appear once before that, and that's where we're kicking off, Tim, with one of your episodes. So this is, again, our 40th episode. Every 20 episodes, we do this kind of joint dealio of something we both love and both pick aspects of it that we're going to talk about. And
unless it's Doctor Who, then we just do a bonus episode because, we love the show so much.
Because then we just gush over it. I mean,
yeah.
Time of recording, there is the upcoming series, and probably around the time this episode will come out, we may well release something. I don't know. Let's see.
We'll see. But yes, we are looking at the first episode of the second season, known as Crichton. Makes it nice and easy. But this, so for the first two seasons, actually, the show had a more dramatic opening with its theme song. It was a slow orchestral, 2001 style opening with someone painting the name Red Dwarf on the mining ship. I don't know. I'm very nostalgic for that opening. What about you?
We get a kind of a combi of this later on, don't we? It starts with later episodes start with the outside of the ship being painted, and then the proper theme song fucking slaps.
Yeah.
And we get a kind of combo of that later. But yeah, this one's okay. I have my original note is that I complained that we don't get the slappy theme song in this one. I actually think I think I'm more nostalgic for the actual. I think it's Series 3 onwards, isn't it? That theme song.
Yeah.
One thing I was going to say actually to do with my kind of love of this show. When I watched this show as a kid, my mum fucking hated it. She just doesn't like this show. She doesn't get on with it. And I was always told to go watch it on my own. I had a TV in my bedroom. It was also one of those ones that if I saw the BBC advertise, on Channel 2, we're playing Red Dwarf at 11, it'd probably be an old episode because it's, on late, I would stay up and watch it in my room. And then if it's one of those things where your mum comes up, you turn the telly off. I'm asleep. She goes back downstairs. Turn the telly back on. Red Dwarf.
That's like I actually did watch the show with my mum. Local library had DVDs, and we just discovered Red Dwarf, and she was like, "Oh, I heard of this show from years back. I think you'd like it. So we got the first season on DVD, borrowed it from the library, watched it within like 2 days, returned it. Second series, returned it. Third, and that's how it was.
I love that.
Until I was like, fuck it. I'm just going to buy them all on DVD.
On this shelf, so I don't actually, this is my office, I don't keep my DVDs in here. But because I took my notes in here, my copy is up here as well.
The same one. My wait, for the thumbnail. Wait. Got to post for the thumbnail.
Oh, wait, well, look at the camera.
There we go.
Wait. Yes.
That's all behind the scenes stuff. I was going to say, my one main issue with that collection, though, is it doesn't have the bonus features of the seasons.
Tim, it's literally called Just the Shows.
I know, but because I borrowed, the versions I borrowed from the library had like the second disc that always have all the bonus episodes and like deleted scenes and stuff.
Yeah,
so I was used to that, especially with season 8. It had season 7. It had extended versions of the first 3 episodes without a laugh track as well.
I have been tempted in the past to buy the individual seasons, especially now. I think you can probably get them at CEX for a couple of quid each.
Yeah, I'm tempted to buy it too, to be honest. Okay,
yeah.
But now back to the episode.
I mean, some of that may make it. We'll see.
Oh, just keep the moment. We have also the things that happened in the first 2 seasons, which was Holly just giving like a rundown of who the characters are, and then does like a little addendum like joke at the end of it.
So yeah, he would do kind of what I just did at the beginning, explain those 3 characters and how they got there, and then a random, like you said, something that we don't see ourselves, but a joke about maybe some of it. Sometimes it's the setup for the episode.
Yeah,
and sometimes
this
it's just
like
a throwaway.
It's like a face that we are like deep, like in a deep expanding universe that we're hopelessly alone. We gotta laugh about it.
I suppose you gotta laugh, haven't you?
So we cut to a robot watching an Australian style soap called Androids.
Based on Neighbours, it's so good.
Yeah.
Everybody needs good androids.
This is when we see it's Crichton, who I would say like for like the early 80s, wasn't it?
No, late 80s, 89.
Late 80s. It's like the visual effects, like his costume looks really cool.
It looks okay, but what I would say is that... Oh, no, it's not even, mate. It's not 88 is the first series.
So this would have been 89.
Yeah. What I would say is it does look okay, but when we're going to discuss this in a bit, when Crichton is replaced...
Oh, yeah, it looks better.
Substantially better, and it's only a year later in terms of time, actual real time.
I'm wondering like, if this is the case because they're like, oh, he's going to be a main character now. We should like develop more time into how he looks.
100% it's that, but I'll just say like he doesn't look bad, but he looks so much better in a year.
Yeah, exactly. So then we cut to the ship, the Red Dwarf, and we see Rimmer trying to learn Esperanto and just failing spectacularly.
And what I love about it is as he's failing, Lister is doing the correct things.
Yeah.
And Rimmer's always like, no, that's wrong. What it means is, and then Lister turns out to be right.
Yeah. I was like, oh, you interrupted me. I would have gotten it. And then it's like, unlike you, I have ambition. It's like, hey, I went to art college. It's like, how'd you get into art college? Like everyone else. I failed all my exams and then I applied. Proper dig at any kind of arts in secondary education or tertiary education. And then it's like, I was only there for 97 minutes. Like, they had lectures first thing in the afternoon.
From 12:30.
Awful.
Who can keep that up?
Exactly. And then Holly interrupts them. He's like, oh, I've decimized music and I've made 2 new notes, H and J.
Rimmer tries to insult Holly in Esperanto, but he gets it completely wrong. And Holly tells him what the right sentence is.
Yeah.
Although there's another point where Rimmer calls Lister a gimp, and it's like, that's an insult I've not heard in a while.
I mean, I find it funny that like the insult they always throw around in the show is Smeghead.
I feel like that doesn't actually appear until, is it this season? It's second series. The first series is incredibly like Smeg light.
Yeah. Holly tells them, "Hey, we have a signal from like outer space," and Rimmer's goes, "Aliens."
Lister takes the piss. It's like every time it's fucking aliens with you, isn't it?
Yeah, it's like, oh, who? Like when the bog roll got used up, like it wasn't us, like Lester. So who could it have been? Like aliens used our bog roll.
For any, and we got actually more of people who listen to this are American than pretty much anyone else. I think bog roll means toilet roll, toilet paper.
Yeah.
The cat is looking for a mouse while wielding a baseball bat, which I really fucking love. Like he's meant to be like obviously cats are like these elegant hunters and stuff, and he's just walking around the ship with a baseball bat.
I know, it's good. So they go into like Holly's like, well, I hope this is a ship because we're down on supplies. Like we're short on cow's milk. It's like, oh, then what is this? Dog's milk.
It lasts ages because no one will drink it.
It's like, oh, what are you doing for? And spoil your tea.
So the signal they got is from the Nova 5 where Crichton is. And he comes up on the screen and says, all the male officers have died, but all the female officers are alive. And Kat says, female was in soft and squidgy, which I'm like, oh, for fuck's sake.
And then Rimmer's like, oh, don't worry, we'll save these fair maids. My name is Captain A.J. Rimmer, space adventurer.
This again, we're going to jump around because we both love the show. So we're going to be like the Simpsons episode. But when we get the introduction of his alternate universe self, who's actually Brave, Ace Rimmer, it's like everything he actually wants to be. Oh, it's so good.
God, I love Ace. And it's a shame we're not going to be talking about him, but yeah, one of the best characters. Like, just additions they made. But then, so they realise, oh, we have like only a couple of hours until we get there. So Kat's like, I gotta go get ready. And he goes, I'm so excited, all 6 of my nipples are tingling.
They say they've got 24 hours, and Kat's like, I would start going to get ready because he's a vain cat.
Yeah, he's like, first in the shower. So then Lester's there like, we're not on the pool. And it just cuts to him immediately trying to make himself look at slightly presentable.
He like cracks his socks with a hammer. And then he's got black jeans that have got like an iron hole in the back. And he tries to spray paint them.
He's basically spray painting his legs. He's like wipes down his shoes and then he puts that t-shirt on.
Yeah, and Rimmer comes in and points out he must be trying to be on the pool because he's wearing his t-shirt that's only got 2 curry stains. And
then Rimmer's just in like a proper uniform.
He comes out, like a general. He's got the proper white uniform with the lapels and the shoulder adornments. Yeah, he's just... like he comments on Lister trying to be impressive with a Curry State t-shirt. For him to be there in... He looks like he's going to a royal wedding. Like, it's ridiculous.
And then there's also when he says, oh, can you not undermine me? Like, because you always do that.
So funny.
Like when I suggested those 2 girls, let's go to the zoo, and you went, oh, he's already taking to meet his mom. So there's like, oh, like, what do you want to do then?
Your Scouse accent there was bloody awful.
I mean, I was doing Rimmer doing Scouse, so...
Okay, I'll let you off.
And then he says to Rimmer, can you, like, not call me Rimmer? It's like, but that's your name. It's like, yeah, but you focus too much on the rim. So, oh, what do you want to call me? Rimmer.
Makes you sound like a toilet cleaner.
It's like, how about Big Man?
or he's like, or maybe my nickname from school. And Lister goes,
Bonehead.
Bonehead. So no, Ace. And he's like, maybe Ace Hole.
Like, who called you Ace? Oh, no one did. No matter how much other than beat me up.
Yeah, I people giving themselves nicknames, man. It's got to be organic.
And then Rimmer says to Lester, you should wear those like shoes. Like, oh, you said they're like the really like, stinky ones, like
Dayglow orange moon boots.
Yeah.
They're apparently hazardous to human life.
And he's like, no, you should wear them. They totally work for you. So he gets to the shop and Rimmer's eyes are watering.
He's a hologram and his eyes are watering. That's how bad these boots are.
And then the cat shows up in his bedazzled space suit.
He's got like a gold fucking space suit. To be fair, he looks great.
He had to custom make his helmet as well, so he wouldn't like mess up his hair.
we jump to the Nova 5 and Crichton's getting the girls ready, and we see that they are actually all dead as well. They're just skeletons, and he's putting like lipstick on them. And he comments on their looks. He's like, "You need to do your hair." And then like one of them falls forward into their soup because he knocks them. It's like, "Oh, you can't eat like that." And then the other one is like, "No, you're perfect.
You're perfect." And then to go back to that space bug when they're on their way to them.
Starbug.
Oh, it's Starbug, yeah. And Kat says, "We can't pass any mirrors or I'll be there all day." And then Holly appears on the screen and he has a toupee.
What I like about Cat as well is he comes in and calls them all. He always does this as well. Calls them monkeys.
Yeah,
because obviously he's not got a shared descendant like we have with primates. He's descended from cats. And then he says, what he actually does say with the mirror line as well. He says, "Hey, meet a plastic surgeon's worst nightmare."
And then while Rimmer's like making fun of Holly for everyone for trying too hard, Holly points out, "You have 2 pairs of socks." What do you mean? He's like, he has a pair on his feet and a pair on his trousers.
Yeah, perking up that bulge.
But here's my thing: Rimmer's a hologram. What could he do? Like, really?
Yeah, he gets to be a solid light hologram later. Hey,
by maybe, season 6.
Maybe he just wants the companionship, but he still thinks, because he's an idiot, still thinks that the women would be impressed by a larger bulge.
Oh, yeah, because there's also a part he says earlier, is like, "How about you say I died and I was incredibly brave about it?"
Yeah, we get a callback to that in 1 second. So they board the Nova, and Rimmer's like, "This reminds me of my first command," and Lister's just like looking at him, and then as they pass a mirror, a cat gets stuck in front of it, and he actually asks Lister for help to pull him away from the mirror.
By the leg. So then Rimmer tries to speak Esperanto in front of Crichton, and Crichton just immediately schools him.
And we get the kind of start of that relationship that they have for the next however long.
They walk into the main room, and they just see the women are dead. And Crichton's are like, "I'll leave you to get acquainted." And Cat immediately squeezes up to like, "Hey, baby."
And then the thing that Lister does is start doing all the stuff that Rimmer asked him to do. So he starts calling him Ace and Big Man, and says, "You met my friend Ace, he's incredibly, incredibly brave."
Hey, you got to say my scout accent is shit when you're doing that.
Do you know what? He seems to dial up his scoutness on certain words. That bit is definitely one of them. That sticks in my head.
Oh, absolutely.
You have to do that. If you want to get in the Scouse accent, by the way, Jimmy Carr says you have to say, what is it, chicken and a can of Coke?
I just try to imitate Sag Epson, to be honest.
Liverpool's number 1.
So Crichton comes back, and they say they die. It's like, "Oh, I was only gone for a moment."
Oh, it's so good.
It was like, "No, they've been dead for centuries." Like, are you sure? Like, even that one? Like, yes. So Rimmer goes, "Okay, ladies, who's alive? Raise your hands." Of course,
Crichton tries to urge them to raise their hands, and they just don't. Obviously,
no, because they're dead. So they decide to take him back to the dwarf with them. Crichton's there going like, "Well, I have no other function. I'm a service droid. I serve, therefore I am." And Rimmer says to say like, "Well, find some passion in your life. Like, Lister. You have a choice to be." Yeah, sorry, no, Rimmer would never say that. Yeah, no. Lister says like, "Go like find something to do for your life. Find a passion or whatever, because you're now your own droid." But then immediately we see Rimmer just like, "Crichton, I have a list of chores for you."
Puts him straight to work, prick.
Yeah, and he is just making him do everything. Clean everything, redecorate rooms.
Lister is riding around on his, like, motorised... it's like an electric motorbike trike thing.
Yeah.
And he drives into the quarters where... I don't know why him and... Well, I suppose... I don't know. Why do they still continue to share their quarters? There must be like loads of spare ones. There's also the idea that he's meant to be there to keep him sane, so maybe he's holographically... he's holographically...
like trapped.
Has to be there. I don't know. And Crichton has redecorated, like you said, and he is clean... Oh, he looks like your nana's fucking living room, man.
Yeah.
Like doilies and net curtains and shit. Crichton has cleaned Lister's clothes, and he's like, he's about his underwear. He's like, these can't be mine. They bend.
Fucking disgusting.
He's also thrown out Lister's mouldy cup. And he's like, I was trying to get that to be like 10 foot tall. Why? To annoy Rimmer.
Yeah. So the only thing that keeps me sane is annoying Rimmer. So then Lister tries to say, Crichton, why don't you want to do your own thing? Then Crichton tells him how he has dreams of owning the garden. Lister says, go find a planet and just make that garden for yourself.
Lister tells Crichton not to call Rimmer Mr. Arnold. Call him Rimmer, or Smeghead, or Dinosaur Breath, or Molecule Mind. And if you want to be really, really nice, arsehole.
So we go to basically what's the final scene, and it's Crichton painting a portrait for Rimmer. Rimmer's like sitting there looking all smug, going, ha ha ha, I've got a servant, I have to do whatever I want. And then, what's on the portrait?
Well, there's a couple of jokes that I do not want to skip over because some of them are brilliant.
Sure.
There's a horrible bit where Rimmer just calls Crichton it.
Oh, yeah.
But it likes it, but then they're having a conversation, and Lister goes, Rimmer drop dead, and he says, already have, and Lister says, encore.
Encore.
Which is such a good joke. And we get Cat saying, you'll never catch any cats being servants. Like, you threw the stick, go get it yourself, buddy.
If you want a stick so badly, why'd you throw it away?
We find out that Lister has shown Crichton a bunch of movies, like Rebel Without a Cause and all those kind of things. And he says they clearly didn't have an effect until, like you said, Tim, we get the reveal of the painting. And what is the painting?
It's Rimmer sitting on the toilet. and then Crichton goes, like Rimmer goes, what's the meaning of this? And Crichton goes, I'm rebelling. Like, you're rebelling? Yes, that's what I think I'm doing. And then he just starts doing a Marlon Brando impression.
Yeah, and he does all the insults that Lister said, plus Smeg for brains, which I like.
Yeah.
And then he throws a curry, which he's clearly made for Lister, but obviously Lister doesn't care about this. Throws a curry on Rimmer's bunk and asks Lister if he could take his space bike.
Yeah.
He's like, yeah, you got it, man.
And then the final shot is just Crichton, like in his Marlon Brando, get up on the bike. And that's how they introduce Crichton.
Apparently, there is another little bit that was like probably on the extra scenes that he gets cut off here. But apparently, he does something else, or says, "Oh, you see him fly out."
Okay.
But we just see him in like a leather get up, like a leather daddy in biker get up. So this version of Crichton is played by David Ross, and I think he does a really good performance in the episode, right? And he doesn't come back to play Crichton full time. He does come back as a bit part, but I can't remember what it is. You know who he is? I can tell you who he is. He is Talkie Toaster. In another episode. We're not even going to cover that, but there. The Talkie Toaster is obsessed with anything that can be toasted. And it's also got artificial intelligence, so it just wangles on about toast and tea cakes and crumpets.
And that's all he can talk about. Things you can toast.
So, when Crichton comes back in Series 3, Episode 1, he is played by Robert Llewellyn, who is brilliant.
Oh, amazing.
His acting of Crichton is unreal. Crichton was so popular that, like, this idea of Crichton was so popular that they brought him back. One, it helps flesh, like, a fourth cast member really helps flesh out jokes, especially one that can be with them to be that kind of guiding voice when they're away from the ship without Holly.
Yeah.
We find out at the beginning of Series 3, Episode 1, we don't even see it, but we get told on an on-screen kind of prompt that
a Star Wars like parody where they speed through, so you have to like pause and go frame by frame to read it.
But you can find it online. It's been written out plenty of times. Find out that Crichton crashed the space bike, broke himself. Lister rebuilt him, but he isn't perfect, so he sounds different. And he doesn't sound. To be fair, he doesn't even sound that different, but he does sound different. And he's lost all that rebellious edge because he had to be like reprogrammed. So now we've got Crichton back, and we continue.
We also have a new Holly.
Yes. In Series 2, the dwarf goes to an alternate reality, an alternate parallel universe where everything is opposite. So the boys are all women, and Cat, there's a dog. And Cat is so upset, he wanted to find a female version of himself, because the only creature in the universe that's going to please Cat is himself. Themselves if he finds a female version. And because Norman Lovett actually fell out with the producers, he didn't want to come back, so they actually got the female version of Holly from the alternate universe, the actress, to come and play Holly, and explained it that Holly was so in love with the female version of themselves that they had a computer sex change.
It's so hilarious.
Hey man, ahead of his time, that's all I'm going to say. So, Series 3, Episode 3, Polymorph. I feel like this might be the first episode that really... We tend to get an episode kind of like this every season after this, where things just go fucking mental.
Yeah.
And a bit wacky. So this is, Series 3, Episode 3. We start with a warning that this episode is not for young people or those of a nervous disposition. And then we get the theme song. Yes, we do. There is a pod floating in space, and it's marked danger and genetic waste. And we get a voiceover saying that the creature inside feeds off the human psyche. Hey, David Lynch, take note. This is how you do exposition in small doses. It seeks out the deranged and unbalanced and emotionally crippled. And that's where you realise the crew of the dwarf is fucked.
That's screwed.
Because that is them. It's found its way aboard the dwarf. We see it like burrowed in, and as it kind of trying to make its way round, we see that it's a shapeshifter, and it changes into a teddy and a bucket and loads of stuff before it finally settles on a rabbit to start hopping around. Once it starts hopping, it then turns into a ball and starts rolling, and we see it roll off screen. And we cut to Lister, who is in what I assume is the kitchen. It looks a bit... It's not the...
Yeah, I think that's what it was.
Yeah, it's not the bunk. It's not their room.
No.
And he's making a chili or a curry. He's making something, using a lot of chili, though.
Yeah.
And we see Crichton in the background vacuuming. Hoover is a brand. Like Velcro and whatever the other ones are. They're all like Tannoy, that's a brand. Not a real... Yeah. And Crichton is vacuuming, and he's using his groin socket. And he's got loads of attachments that he just literally plugs into his front of his groin, including a Hoover. Cat slides in the room looking fly, as he always does. It turns out Lister's used all the gear from the medical unit to serve dinner, because he doesn't like using the disposable utensils anymore. He wants to feel like he's actually having a proper dinner.
Yeah.
Cat doesn't want to use the scalpel as a knife, because he posits that it may have been used in a circumcision.
Yes. So, as he says, a very popular Jewish tradition.
Yes. Lister has used a colostomy bag to fill with chili sauce. He keeps insisting the whole time. It's like, it's been cleaned, it's been sterilised, but Cat is just having none of it. Lister shows off. He just throws all the ingredients in
the microwave.
Yeah, like 4 seconds later, it comes out as a whole kebab.
It's impressive.
That's like the bit in Back to the Future with the dehydrated pizzas. Like, just seconds, and you get a full meal. Cat leaves as he's like, I don't want your lemon juice from an artificial insemination syringe. And as Lister's trying to talk him round, he follows him. The ball flies in, and Lister picks it up, and he puts it on the table, and then that's when he goes to talk to Cat, and it turns into another kebab and lands on his plate next to it. Now, because of the microwave thing, it's obviously, Lister might not have noticed there was two.
Yeah.
But, he would have noticed, right? But Lister's an idiot, I suppose.
Yeah, and also I think he was just so hungry he'd happily have a second.
Yeah. Rimmer is watching some home movies from when he was a kid, and he claims him and his brothers were super close. Then we just see that they're tying him down and putting like jam on his face, and then they're gonna pour ants on him.
And there's like the four musketeers we called ourselves. Well, they were the three musketeers. I was always the Queen of Spain.
And then they even hit a small landmine in his sandpit.
It's like, it's not their fault. How did they know it was going to go off?
Mate, the denial of Rimmer about his whole life, about anyone actually ever liking him, is so funny. Crichton says, the woman on the video, oh, she's not your type. She's a silly old trout. And then
That's my mother.
Rimmer points out that it's his mother, and Crichton basically has a breakdown apologising. That's when we really see that rebellious streak is gone, right, Tim?
Yeah. And then also, like, he just continues, like, I compared your mother to the ugliest fish in the sea. I said she had the brain of a mollusk.
Rimmer says, I love my mother. We would have got on famously, but she despised idiots. It's like, yeah, that's you, fuck then, Rimmer.
Yeah.
And this is where we get the debut of female Holly. Yeah, I've got all these notes explaining it, and we explained it at the beginning, so I'm just going to skip over that. She says there's something not human aboard, and Rimmer says, no, I don't believe you. Last time, it was just one of Lister's socks. And she says, biologically speaking, they were a new life form. Lister, we cut back to Lister, and he's putting pepper on his kebab, and the kebab sneezes, and he looks at it for a second, and it just fucking face huggers him, like goes around his throat and tries to kill him. Craig Charles does some good acting here, because he's clearly the one holding it on his throat.
Yeah.
Say good acting, funny acting. There's a difference, but you know. So Lister, at this time, when he finally gets the kebab off of him, and he stands up, and he's wearing a dressing gown, and he's like, right, what is this? We need to sort this out. And he picks up a pair of shorts off the floor to put on, and it turns out the shorts are also the polymorph, and they start to shrink around his bits. Crichton tries to help him, and he's like, Lister lays on the floor so Crichton can try to pull off the underwear or the shorts, and Crichton gets down between his legs and tries to pull him, and he's still got the vacuum attached to his groinal socket. And as Rimmer walks in, it looks like Crichton is humping Lister.
Yeah. He just goes, you'll boink anything, won't you?
It's a very good moment. It's a very good moment. Don't turn Crichton into a sex bot. That's not cool.
And then when Crichton pulls out the boxes, they're like just tiny.
Yeah, they are like inches along. The polymorph turns into a snake and then disappears again before we get it turning into a big monster. And it it's got the like alien type thing from its mouth with another mouth suctiony type thing. And it attaches itself to Lister's forehead. And then we see Lister kind of like shaking, and then we just cut to the medbay. Rimmer says the polymorph disappeared down the corridor. Holly says it's from Earth, and it's a genetic experiment that went wrong. And then Crichton, he's crying, he says, Crichton goes, it's a genetic experiment that went wrong. It's insane. And they kind of posit that it's an emotional vampire. It feeds off negative emotions. And the polymorph took Lister to the limit of his terror and then sucked out the fear. So the snake and the shorts,
the giant monster.
Oh, and the giant monster, yeah. Scared him enough, so he got like scared as he'll be, and then he sucked out all the fear. And Lister wakes up. This is where we get one of my favourite... Look, we get different versions of the characters throughout. We get like female versions, we get versions where their brains have been changed and altered. This is one of my favourite versions of Lister. He wakes up and he's just a violent psychopath.
Yeah.
He's just like, let's get out there and twat it.
So they have to like knock him out because he's just being too violent and he's just like not listening to reason. So
Crichton tranquilises him and he goes, you starting? I'll take you all on, you slags. But then he passes out because he's been tranquilised. The others posit that the best tactic is to just run away on Starbuck instead of actually fighting it. And Rimmer says he's got a motto, which is never to tangle with anything that's got more teeth than the entire Osmond family.
That's an old school reference.
Yeah, I mean, it was pretty old school then. Osmonds feel like they're more 70s. They decide to go after it without any kind of actual telling us that. You just see them kind of hunting for it. They've got this weapon appears quite often through the series. They're called bazookoids.
Yeah.
And they've got heat-seeking missiles in them this time. And Rimmer's like, just aim roughly and the bazookoids will follow. They'll do the rest. They'll follow the heat signature. Rimmer panics and says, it's over there. And they fire... so Crichton and Cat fire the bazookoids, and the heat seekers start to fly away. And because they've got nothing to actually aim at, because Rimmer was wrong, they start flying back. And Rimmer points out that he's a hologram, so he's got no heat signature. Crichton's an android, so he's got no heat signature. So they're just following Cat. And Cat has to like outrun them for a while. He just like jumps over them doing the splits and stuff before eventually he traps them in an airlock, doesn't he? And they kind of just hover there and wait. So these are like smart heat seekers. They're not just going to keep going until they hit something. They realise there's something in the way and they just hover. Either that or the doors are so good that the heat signature doesn't get through. I don't know. A woman arrives and starts talking to Kat, and he's such an idiot. He's like, there's something dangerous around here that could turn into anything. Bear in mind, they've not seen women in a long time.
Yeah.
She flirts with him, and he has no idea. And then, even though it's really obvious, she rolls her eyes that he's so stupid.
I know.
Now, did you recognise this actress?
No.
It's her name is Frances Barber, but we will know her as Madame Kavarian from Doctor Who.
That's her.
Yeah, so she's the one
wow.
who sets up River Song and the Doctor and steals Melody Pond, and yeah, that's her. Kat introduces himself, and she says. Then she introduces herself and says, "Hi, I'm the genetic mutant." And he goes, "What?" He still doesn't get it.
No, he goes, "Nice to meet you, Jenny Who."
Jenny. And the polymorph sucker just comes out and hits him square in the head. And this removes his vanity. So obviously he's like preening because there's a woman. And then he gets his vanity removed.
So then Crichton finds the cat first. And then Rimmer just starts like making Crichton guilty. Going like, it was your fault. He ran away. You should have been after him. Like, and then Crichton's like, please, you're making me so. And then Rimmer just says, guilty. And it turns out he's obviously the polymorph.
And he's made Crichton feel as guilty as possible and then removed his guilt. The polymorph gets back to the medbay through the pipes and beats them back there, where Lister is obviously still knocked out. The cat now looks like shit. He looks like a hobo.
Yeah.
Like, big coat, big hair. And Crichton's also saying, like, I don't care if you all die, because he's got no guilt. And back in the medbay, they find that Lister has slept with the polymorph. But the polymorph is in the shape of Rimmer's mum. And apparently they did it 5 times. And the polymorph is just trying to make Rimmer angry.
Yeah.
And he doesn't get angry. He kind of holds it in. Until Rimmer says, until the polymorph says, you should see what this man could do with alphabet spaghetti. And Rimmer goes fucking loony. He goes fucking mental. And the polymorph sucks out his anger.
I don't want to know what the polymorph meant by that.
No, me either. But it feels like he was like something that Rimmer's mum would have made him for dinner. Like he was like his favourite thing as a kid. And now he's being used to have sex with Lister.
Yeah, I wonder if it's just like a missing joke or like set up for it, and then yeah.
I feel like that's something like maybe there was something in those home videos where he has alphabet spaghetti or something. Rimmer has basically turned into a philosophy professor.
Yeah,
he wants to sit down and talk with the polymorph. Lister wants to strap a nuke to his own forehead and go nutty into oblivion. Crichton wants to send Lister in as a decoy, and then they can kill it. Lister's well in for this.
Yeah.
Then Rimmer's like wants to do a leaflet campaign. So this is where we get all these kind of versions of them without a very defining characteristic of all of them. Lister, well, not even it's not their defining characteristic, but if you removed it, it changes them into a different person. Apart from Crichton, the guilt thing is definitely, and the vanity and Cat. But I wouldn't say Rimmer is necessarily, his main thing isn't anger, and obviously Lister's isn't fear. Lister says he's going to go and kill it, and if anyone gets in his way, he's going to give them a napalm enema.
I think you missed the group that Rimmer
no, that's
wants
the
to
next
form.
joke. That's the next joke. That is literally the joke. The beat after that. Go on, you can tell the joke. Well,
so he says we should form the Committee for the Liberation and Integration of Terrifying Organisms and their Rehabilitation into Society. There
is one drawback.
Yes,
and that is that the abbreviation is.
Abbreviation is clitoris.
That joke sticks with me, and I don't know why. I can never remember the full thing. I've got it written down for my notes, so I never remember the full thing, but I always remember the abbreviation is clitoris.
Yeah.
Crichton is willing to hand them all over if it will let him go, which is, again,
Please
very...
No, it's suckers! But I think they're like so unaware of what he's doing. Like, they're not really paying attention to him.
No, not at all. They always used to kind of semi-ignoring him anyway. So this is, again, not much different, even though he's being a dick.
A dick, yeah.
They get into the bay or the storage area where the polymorph is, and Lister starts spinning a baseball bat like it's fucking nunchucks. And he smashes himself in the nuts.
Yeah.
Rimmer is carrying a placard that says, "Chimerionic life forms, no thanks." Alright, so they approach the airlock where Cat diverted the heat seekers, and the polymorph appears behind them. They don't even notice, so it looks like they're about to get fucked. So they open the door. Obviously, Cat's forgotten that they're in there, and as they see the heat seekers, they all duck because they start flying out, and they go straight at the polymorph and blow it up.
And then their like original personalities just come back immediately.
Yeah, so apparently, as long as it's alive, it can hold on to those emotions, but it gives them back if it dies. And that's the end of the episode, apart from one little clip.
No, I was going to say there's one joke before that ending. It's like the moment I get a personality back, Crichton feels immediate guilt, like, naturally, I will commit suicide. And it ends up with suicide at his face.
Oh, yeah, he threatens, or not threatens, like, promises to commit suicide all the time when he feels guilty.
Yeah.
Bless Crichton. I love Crichton. So we cut to outside the ship, and we see the container where the polymorph came from, and it spins around again, and it says contains 2.
Yeah.
And then as the group are walking through the storage again, we see that Lister like winks at the camera, and obviously he's not the real Lister then.
Well, there's two Listers. The first Lister walks past, and there's a second one right behind him.
Oh, you know what? I hadn't even clocked that. I just clocked the one that looks directly at the camera. So yeah, and then we don't get to see the outcome of that, but obviously everything's all right because we get another episode. So you know.
We get another few seasons, so they clearly survive.
To be fair, we get a fucking lot more content.
Yeah.
I love that episode. I love, and I think there's basically one a season after this point. It might even be after the series 2 episode where they meet the female versions of themselves. That there's always the one that fucks with the characterization of everyone.
Yeah.
And we're going to talk about another one of them after the next one. So,
but before that, we have Quarantine. Which I think this is one of my favorite episodes. It's definitely one I remember a lot.
This is such a good episode. This is a good choice by you, Timothy.
I have my moments.
1 or 2 a year.
So the joint episodes.
Yeah, mostly.
So this is season 5, episode 3.
4.
That's close. And it just opens up on an icy planet, and they've discovered like a research center. They want to basically see who's inside everything, and they're being really arsy with Rimmer already,
as always,
because he's like, "I want to launch the scouter," blah blah blah. Because Crisis wonders, like, "No, I'm in charge here. Who put the fucking android in charge?" But Cat's just ignoring Rimmer. And then the moment Crisis says, "Can you launch the scouter?" Like, "Aye, sir." Scouter launch, sir.
Yeah, because Crichton's basically become the de facto kind of science leader because he's a robot on stuff, even though technically he's just basically like a robot butler. But, you know, he's got a computer for a brain. He can learn things and maintain them. So he's basically become the science officer and tech guy. But Rimmer doesn't like him having any authority or power. Rimmer thinks he's in charge of everything. So, which, technically speaking, in terms of the ship's registration, he is, but he's a knob. Sorry.
Yeah.
He's a smeghead. So
yeah. So they discovered that there is someone inside, a Dr. Landstrom, but the issue is that she's a hologram, and they need to use Rimmer's hologram projector to pick her up. So they're saying, you need to go back to the dwarf while we deal with this. So he's already been really like, "Oh, you're trying to get rid of me now?" And then he also
says, "I don't even know why you're telling me. Crichton's clearly in charge." And then he calls Crichton Captain Bogbot, which I thought was really funny.
And then they also say to Rimmer that the dwarf can only sustain one hologram. And he's like, "Oh, so why are we bothering?" He's like, "Oh, no, you're going to turn me off, aren't you?"
There's like, we'll work out some kind of rotation. Because she's a doctor, so like she's an actual like human doctor. So, she could be useful.
Yeah, and Crichton says, out of the Space Course directive that you need to give up being a hologram for someone who is more of a higher rank. And this is when Rimmer goes, have we ever seen the Space Corps directives? And then Kat and Lister are like, don't think so. So Rimmer's like, no, he's making it up. He's doing this just to get at me.
And then Rimmer does a really good impression of Crichton.
Oh, yeah.
It's where Chris Barry really puts on his acting chops. He basically does Crichton's voice. It's meant to be Canadian, apparently. The accent that Lawrence Welland does is meant to be Canadian. Yeah.
Doesn't really come across.
No, it comes across as a bit, I don't know, transatlantic, somewhere between... I've got some friends who are half English, half American, and it doesn't not sound like their accents.
Yeah. So Crichton goes to Holly, give Rimmer a copy of the Space Course directive so he can read it.
On his way back to the dwarf, yeah.
Yeah. And then as Rimmer's leaving towards the escape shuttle, he goes, you've changed, They can't see it, but I have. And this is another running joke where Crichton can't say Smeghead.
Smeg head.
It's me.
Well, he can't, yeah, because he's insulting someone, so he can't do it.
Yeah. So the trio start to explore the center, and they see it's a viral research center, which, probably very deadly.
I love that Lister slowly wipes the dust off this sign, and the sign just gets more and more dramatic.
Horrifying. Yeah.
It's like, please don't come in. Caution. Seriously, fuck off. Viruses here.
And then Crichton goes, oh, if there's an issue, the side scanner would have gone off. Oh, it appears it's run out of battery. He changes the batteries, and then it takes another minute to load up. Why he says this is surprisingly considered the best model.
It done best in 9 out of 10 tests. I love that sometimes he just quotes he does it all throughout, especially with tech stuff. He quotes basically catalogue fucking descriptions of all the tech that they've got, which is actually a good way to do the exposition for a piece of tech, because he's a robot, so of course he's going to say the details.
So the side scanner says it's safe, and then Lister goes, oh, we're a real Mickey Mouse operation, to which Cat goes, we're not even Betty Boop.
That's such a good line.
They come across some viruses in vials that Crichton finds interesting, so he pockets them. Then Langstrom's space pod opens, and she's insane.
She's got red eye lightning powers.
Yeah.
There's a really great line, and I think this is all action movies, all sci-fi. They start running away, and Cat screams, it's a really good job we don't ever meet someone who can shoot straight.
Yeah. While this happened, Rim was like, I miss the old Crichton, the old subservient Crichton, not this new one. And it's like, well, you know what? If Crichton's going to use this book against me, I'm going to use it against him.
He says, I preferred him when he was a blubbering, anxious mess who knew he was full freight. That's Crichton.
So the trio call Rimmer saying, we need help. This is when he starts being a dick, going, lovely to hear. She's going to kill us. Wonderful.
Says the doctor's got a holovirus, and he's like, oh yeah, great, yeah, bring that back to me.
Yeah, and then so she shoots the radio out of their hands, and she picks up like, hello, I'm Dr. Landstrom, and I'm quite mad.
And he's like, great, thank you.
And then she just detonates the radio, so then he's like, okay, I'm off.
Yeah. Crichton says the holovirus makes you mad, but also awakens the dormant psychic powers that humans have, which is another thing Doctor Who's touched on quite a lot.
Yeah. And as this happens, she can see her eyes, so she's tracking them down with her psychic abilities. But they also say the virus drains the victim's life force,
which is why she put herself in a stasis pod.
Yeah.
So she said to Lister, there's a really great line. So they're all looking at the camera as she's starting to slowly appear behind them, and they're like, so if we just give her the runaround for a bit, she'll run out of life force. And they're discussing their plan right in front of her. As she goes to reach out and shoot them with her lightning power, she just dies. So there's just luck, just pure luck. Which
so
we find out
Yeah, which you find out might be a virus.
Yeah.
So the boys from the dwarf go on to go on to Space Bug, and they look at the virus. Starbug. Okay. they look at the viruses that Crichton picked up, and this is when actually said there were positive and negative viruses, and he's like found a few that she's made, like luck, charm, and
sexual magnetism.
To which Kat says, "Take me to a hospital. I'm a terminal case." and then Lister pockets that virus. I'm like, who are you going to use that on?
On the off chance, sometime down the future. There's a really good bit where they describe it, which I think is the best way to describe it. Someone's like, those days, and we've all had these, I think, where you've been down for a little while. Maybe you're in a shit job and things aren't going your way, and some days you just wake up feeling great.
Yeah,
like you're in a good mood. There's no real reason for it. It says that's when
a positive virus.
When you've had a positive virus out of your system, and then he says, "Right," it says 20th century DJ suffered from it all the time.
So they have Lister test the luck virus, and he's able to pick out all the aces of a deck of cards, which is an insane feat of luck.
Doesn't it get to it's a 1 in 23 million chance or something?
And then Crichton says, "Okay, I want you to use your left hand, throw this dart backwards, and hit a bullseye." So he throws it, and all he hears is a funk sound. It's like Crichton's like, "Oh, I think the luck virus wore off," and the dart's in the back of his head.
God, if that virus was actually real, imagine how sports would be an interesting thing.
So they get back to the dwarf, but they realise they're not being allowed to dock. To which Rimmer says, quote on the Space Force directive, you need to go to quarantine.
So he won't catch the holovirus.
Yeah. So they go in, they notice there's only one bed in there. And it's like, and Crichton says, you need to give us more than one bed. It's like, well, as per the Space Corps directive, it's one bed per registered employee, and Lister's the only registered employee.
Yep.
And then he's like, "Oh, I have you on a all-sprout meal diet."
Oh, it's so... And they've got... their only entertainment is a DIY video and a completed puzzle book and a chess set without all the pieces.
And a knitting kit.
Oh, yeah, and yeah.
And they're going to be in there for 84 days. And so Lister's there no, don't worry, we'll get through this. We've been with each other before. We can do this. And I think this is the first time they quote Boys from the Dwarf, right?
It's the first time in the ones we've watched, but I'm sure they've done it before this.
Yeah. So it's only been 5 days, and they've already beaten the crap at each other. Crichton emerges from the shower, and he says, "It took me 4 hours to put my head back into shape."
It's a paddle beat, which is what you do to a car. Paddle beat my head back into shape. Crichton says if Lister blows his nose one more time, he's going to kill him, because he always has to open it and look at it.
Lister's like, "Yeah, Rimmer's right. You have changed. You become tetchy." Don't call me tetchy. So then
saying Rimmer's right. Ooh.
And then it's like, "I hate when you call me tetchy." So Lister just writes on the whiteboard.
Yeah, so he covers his ears. It's like what a robot has for ears.
So then Crichton's like, Crichton's revenge is basically, I'm going to put on the train documentary.
No, it's DIY. It's
DIY. There's a bit where they're all arguing with each other, and Kat goes, "Don't correct me. I hate being corrected."
And this is about the point where Crichton realises that they've been in long enough to request a rescreening.
Yeah. So they go, we can finally beat him, and then Rimmer's like, well done, gentlemen. Like, how long have you been out there, Rimmer? About 2-3 hours. And then he appears.
And what's he wearing?
He's wearing like a what's the name of the dress? But he's wearing
it's a gingham dress. So
gingham dress with
patchwork red and white.
Yeah, with like a blonde wig on, with his hair like in pigtails, but they're curled up, and they're like just going, oh no, like they've already sussed that he's been infected, but they're having to play it cool. He's like, well, we're okay now. You can let us out. It's like, I can't let you out. The king of potato people won't let me.
And they asked to speak to the king of the potato people, and he's like, let me get this straight. You want to beg for your freedom from the king of the potato people? Now who's crazy? People being crazy, that gets you 2 hours of WOO without oxygen.
So, obviously they're panicking going, wow, we got to figure out how to get it. They realize they still have the luck virus again. So they've got 7 minutes of oxygen. Yeah.
Oh, and Crichton points out that Rimmer got the virus through the comms.
Yeah, through the radio waves. So they use the luck virus on Lister. They give like a massive dose, and they're able to break free. And then this is when Rimmer's like, as they're walking down the corridor, he's right behind them. And now he has a penguin on his hand called Mr. Flibble.
Mr. Flibble.
Yeah, Mr. Flibble. And then he goes, oh, what do we do when people are being naughty, Mr. Flibble? Uncle Arnie fries them with his hex vision.
It's so fucking stupid. I love it. But we should point out that Mr. Flibble is a puppet and he's also a penguin.
Yeah. So they escape, and this is when they realize like Arnold also now has telekinesis, and he just flings an axe into Crichton's back.
Lucky it hits Crichton out of the three of them because he's obviously a robot, so he can be repaired. He says it's fine, and then he starts to have a bit of a meltdown, and he like bashes his head against the post to try to sort it out.
So then they run down another corridor, and Rimmer disintegrates the door in front of Crichton, and then Mr. Flibble says like, what are we going to do, Mr. Flibble? He just brings the put out to his ears. He starts like miming him talking. We can't do that. Who would clean up the mess? And then both Flibble and Rimmer both have the hex vision.
Yeah, and Lister's still got the luck virus because they gave him such a big dose that Crichton knows how he could stop him using, because obviously he's technically, Rimmer's like digital.
Yeah.
So he knows how he can stop him using some tech. And as they're walking backwards watching him, Crichton lists stuff off and Lister just picks it up. Goes, oh, well, like this.
So then they do it. They disable the virus inside Rimmer. He's back to normal. But they decide to have some fun with him now.
Yeah.
They put him in quarantine. And he's like, oh, what am I doing here? It's like, you're on quarantine, bud. Lights go up on them. They're all in the costume.
They're all in the gingham dress.
Yeah, they all start howling at him. He was howling.
Yeah, they all start making weird noises, and he's just like, oh, for fuck's sake.
And that's how the episode ends.
What I love about that ending and the stuff with the luck virus is it feels like it's taking a bit of a pop when TV shows and films kind of do something really simple to write themselves out of a corner.
Yeah.
So, like, we love Doctor Who, but sometimes Sonic Screwdriver becomes so all-purpose that it writes, it saves the day.
Yeah, especially in Chibnall's era.
Yeah, so I think that there was kind of a pop at that kind of thing. Probably not Doctor Who because they hadn't done that at that point, but
no, but just just shows and movies in general.
Yeah, for sure. I love that episode so much. The gingham dress is so like synonymous with. I feel like every time a TV show does, like, this is a top 100 best sitcoms of all time, and Red Dwarf always comes in the top 10 or so. And that clip is always shown of Rimmer in the dress.
Yeah, absolutely.
So we're sticking with Series 5 for the next episode, but we're going to the end of Series 5, Episode 6. Hey, American listeners, welcome to the UK, where we get 6 episodes per series, apart from occasional things like Doctor Who. This episode is called Back to Reality. Now, again, this is another one of those ones where we kind of get different versions of the characters, different characterization, and again, they might be my favourite episodes, in general.
I can understand that.
Starbug lands underwater, and they're looking for a black box, or they've got a black box from a vessel that was trying to make the water habitable. They used an accelerant, and they got 5 million years of evolution in 3 years in this water. Crichton realises that there's supposed to be loads of new life because of that evolution, but that everything's gone, everything's dead. So there must be an alpha predator.
Or Cat suggests, don't fish swim south for the winter?
Yes. And he's like, no, sir. I love how Crichton never, because he can't, but he never mocks their stupidity. He just corrects them. It's like, no, sir, that's birds.
It's like, birds swim south for the winter? How do they breathe?
So Starbug is docked in this other vessel that was doing this. Is it a vessel or is it an underground base? It's something like that.
Underground base, yeah.
It suggests, a black box suggests it's a vessel, though. But, sure. They find a body that has died by suicide via gunshot. Crichton Scanner can read the race of the dead bodies, and they're just skeletons. And the first one that's died by suicide via the gunshot is white. It says it's Caucasian. And the second one they describe as Oriental, which is not the right word. We discussed this in our Doctor Who episode about another word that also apparently relates to people from East Asia. Yeah.
Which that one still shocks me that actually is what it stood for.
Yeah, still didn't know that. I feel like, well, this is kind of mid-90s now. I think we're at about 94, 93.
Yeah.
We're in that region. It would have still been a word in very common usage. And this person has committed suicide or died by suicide via seppuku. You know what seppuku is, Tim?
It's when they stab themselves in the gut, slice out the entrails, essentially.
Yeah, it's a Japanese samurai method of suicide.
Yeah.
That is considered, honourable. So they could have just said that they were Japanese if they wanted to make the seppuku joke. There is a fish who has closed its own gills to kill itself.
Yeah.
Cat has got a really great line. He's like, if only we could figure out a link between these three suicides.
He killed himself. He killed himself. This fish killed himself. I'm starting to see a link here.
Well, he doesn't even say that he's seeing it. He says, if only we could figure out a link. It's like, come on, Cat. Lister finds a chemical that is a hallucinogenic that comes from a sea creature, and that's why they've kind of all killed themselves. Crichton analyzes it and says, it's a hallucinogenic. It's not unlike squid ink, except it has a venom in it. This one is a very small dose, though, because it's been left in the base for a long time. He says and it makes them all a bit weepy, doesn't it? And they all get a bit sad. We need to get back to the base. We need a mood stabilizer.
And then, Lester's like, are you okay? It's like, yeah, I'm okay. Just realised I've done nothing with my life.
Holly and Rimmer have detected the suicide squid, as they start calling it, and it's approaching them. The crew get back in Starbug, and the squid is coming right for them. And Lister points out there's only three things it might want to do: kill us, eat us, or fuck us. Although he says hump, but Lister takes control of the bug and tries to outmaneuver the squid, but it hits them and they crash into the seabed. And what comes up on the screen, Tim?
Game over.
Yeah, we get a flashing red game over. I think it's red. Game over.
Yeah.
And they all wake up, and it turns out they've been playing a virtual reality game for 4 years. The game is called Red Dwarf. And we get a voice over a tannoy saying, you may experience some delusions before getting your memories back. They get out, and Rimmer is in a hologram. Crichton is half human, although he looks even more android than before because he's got a metal plate as well.
Yeah.
Cat has massive human teeth and a bowl cut. And
poor bastard.
Yeah. And the assistant comes in, and who is it, Tim? Who plays it?
I recognise him, but
It's Timothy Spall.
Shit.
British acting legend. He plays a rat.
I only recognise him being really old these days.
Yeah, he plays a rat in Harry Potter, so you know. He sends them off to the recuperation lounge.
I was going to say, there's so many things he points out, what they miss.
Oh, no, he does. But he tried to send them to the recuperation lounge. He's like, go to the recoup lounge. But then he starts explaining everything. So he says there's a 2-year waiting list to play Red Dwarf. And Crichton tells him they died at the Despair Squid. And he says they should have used the laser cannons. It's obvious. And it's like, Starbug doesn't have laser cannons. He's like, no, the laser cannons on the Esperanto. It means hope. Hope defeats despair. And he's like, oh. Lister is told he's supposed to get Christine Kachansky. So, she's actually not that prevalent up to this point. She's maybe been featured in like 3 or 4 episodes to this point. So, and played by like a different actress every time as well. She is Lister's crush from before the ship. Before he went into stasis on the ship. You know, everyone died. And she gets brought back after this, doesn't she? Series 6 or 7?
7, yeah.
7. Yeah, and he's supposed to get her somehow using time travel or something. And they also missed the planet of the nymphomaniacs, which apparently some people waste years there, or spend years there, should I say. Rimmer never found the captain's message. There's the truth behind why Rimmer's such an... This is his wording as well. The truth behind why Rimmer's such an insufferable twat. He was a special sleeper agent who was supposed to guide Lister to being the creator of the second universe. And he's not a twonk. And he points out that he shouldn't have stayed as the twonk version the whole time. He should have... He found in the eye in his swimming certificate, there's a message from the captain. And that's the clue, isn't it? That he can't swim. Because
Rimmer can't swim.
And Lister, who's the ultimate atheist, turns out to be a god by jumpstarting the universe with a new big bang. Fuck. It's like he unloads a lot of information.
Yeah.
But this is where they all start to have a bit of an identity crisis. And they're sat in the Recoup Lounge, and one of the assistants comes in and asks, is this the Dwayne Dibley party? And they're all like, there's no one called Dwayne Dibley here. And they're like, oh, hang on. And they all look at Kat.
Like, no.
Not Dwayne Dibley. He's like the least cool person ever. And what's great about this is I think he's one of the very few returning alt versions. Yeah. He comes back later as well. This is the first incidence of Dwayne.
He comes back in season 6 and season 8.
Yeah, he keeps coming back. He's in that Polymorph 2 where the Polymorph sucks all his cool out and he becomes Dwayne Dibley again. Rimmer tries to push Crichton around, but Crichton's like, I don't have to take orders from you. I'm not the kind of person who gets pushed around. And we find out that Crichton, and from the ID in the bag, that Crichton is a detective in cybernautics, and he's called Jake Bullet.
He's like, that's a tough day, a no-nonsense detective who gets the job done. If those pencil pushers in City Hall don't like it, they can sell on it. And then Rimmer goes, there's probably just traffic control.
And you've just got a stupid macho name.
Like Max Power.
Exactly. Crichton opens the case for someone else, and it's Billy Doyle, and they all think it's Lister because it sounds like I don't know, like a burnout type of name.
Yeah, and Rimmer just starts shitting on it. It's like, he knows like a rundown of his life on the tracks. He tried to rob a store and shot an old woman.
Yeah,
like Billy Grandma Killer Doyle.
And that's when they realise it's Rimmer because it's got an ID on it, and it's and then he changes his tag. He's like William Doyle, good old
Strong
Bill
name.
Doyle, probably related to the Tennessee Doyles or whatever he says.
And then he realises like he's homeless. He goes, "Oh no, I'm Billy Doyle, and my cologne is yak the urine."
Oh, the yak urine.
Yak urine.
He's got a big old coat that smells like yak urine. Apparently. It turns out Lister is a rich person called Sebastian Doyle, and they're half brothers.
Yeah.
As they leave, Lister watches how the next lot are doing. There's like a viewing thing to see how the next players are doing. And by this point, they've only been in there minutes. I don't know how it plays out. Maybe it feels like, the time is extended or whatever.
Yeah.
But he's already got Kachansky, the guy playing Lister, and he makes out with her. Turns out in this real world, they're in a fascist they're in a fascist dystopia, which is really easy for me to say. There's a cop chasing a child who's stolen an apple.
No, you missed out the poster, which is, be a government informer, betray your family and friends. Fabulous prizes to be won.
That's how fascists work, Tim, in case you didn't know. Keep an eye out for it. Crichton says, like, Jake Bullet, cybernautics, and the guy's like, that's just traffic control. So it turns out Rimmer was right. The cop asks Lister to come out of the shadows. He can't see him, but he sees like a figure. And then as he steps out, he recognises Lister and calls him Colonel. And it turns out he runs a department who kills off voters who don't vote the right way.
Well,
So
as the guy says, they can't say kill for some reason. He says purifies for democracy.
Yeah, so he is like the ultimate fascist.
Yeah.
The cop tries to shoot the kid, but Crichton shoots him first. And what happens then, Tim?
This is when we see they are hallucinating in the space bug. So
we cut back.
Obviously, to save on budget.
Yeah. It's so what this is absolutely brilliant. This. So they cut back to Starbug where they're all hallucinating together and they're like running around in circles. And they're like, get in the car. And there's just 4 boxes and they just sit down and they mime and describe a car chase. They're like, there's helicopters. And shoot it down. And it's just so funny.
It's like, the British raising. And they literally jump out their seats and land back in.
It's so good because it's clearly one thing. It's a brilliant way to save money. But 2, I don't even think they had the idea of saving money. I think they cut there in the original script because they thought this will be fucking hilarious.
And
like, of all the time to like, we could do a big action sequence. And they do some action sequences. But it's so good, and the cast do such a good job of acting it out as if they're like taking it seriously.
Yeah.
We cut back to the fake world, which we now find out that it is, and they're all talking about why they want to kill themselves. Crichton says, "I want to commit suicide because I killed a human." Rimmer because his life is shit and he can't actually blame it on his upbringing like he usually does because he's got the same upbringing as Lister, who is uber successful, but also a fascist, which is why he wants to kill himself, because he's the ultimate lefty. And Cat, because he's not cool anymore. Sure. They realise Jake Bullet, Crichton, realises he's only got 1 bullet left in his gun. So they line up their heads in a row of 4. And we hear Holly's voice broadcast, like saying, Crichton, I'm broadcasting on a higher frequency. And she says, put the gun down. He goes, I think I'm going to put the gun down. And then he picks up this canister and he kind of turns it and releases the gas, but all because Holly's describing this to him, tells him to do it. And the gas is the mood stabilizer that Crichton was talking about before to kind of level out the toxin in their system. And this is where Crichton points out, oh yeah, is all our worst nightmares come true? And all Cat can be like, oh my god, I'm not Dwayne Dibley. And he's like, yes sir. And Rimmer's like, I am Rimmer. He goes, I'm afraid so, sir.
Also, when Cat's being told, the reason you for your Dwayne Dibley is because you are so obsessed with your vanity, he goes, superficial is my middle name.
Yeah, I love Cat. Like, I was about to say he gets some of the best lines. He gets the best off-the-cuff lines that don't necessarily have anything to do with the story. The others have always got great lines because it's so well written, but yeah. Holly killed the squid using limpet mines and turned it into fried calamari, apparently. And Lister laments all those eco-scientists and the damage they did. And then Crichton compares it to humans and starts laughing. And that is the end of the episode and the end of our run-through of 4 of our favourite episodes of one of our favourite sitcoms ever. Tim, have you enjoyed watching some Red Dwarf?
Straight after I watched this episode, I went straight on to season 6. So yeah,
yeah, I watched a couple more episodes, and I actually did some extra credit.
Did you watch Back to Earth?
I watched even newer than Back to Earth.
You watched the Dave stuff?
So I watched Promised Land, which is the movie.
I haven't watched that because I heard mixed things, and I wasn't really a fan of the Dave stuff.
It's not as good as the main series. It's not, but it's quite funny. It's about the cat people.
Oh wow!
So they're still we didn't touch on this in any of the other episodes, but to the cat people, Lister is their messiah because he saved them. Except they called him Cloister. They got his name wrong, and in this one they come across 2 like sects of the cat people. One that still worship Lister, and ones that are like rebels and trying to kill everything. Yeah, eventually they, save themselves. This is a standard Red Dwarf thing. Rimmer has a bit of a crisis of confidence when he finally realises no one likes him.
Took him long enough.
Yeah, but the Lister talks him down. He says, we do like you, but more importantly, I kind of need you. You were picked on purpose to balance me out. And I understand why now. I didn't at first. It's like, they have a nice little moment because it feels like that's going to be the end, maybe.
Yeah, from what I've heard, like that was like the show's finale.
Thing is, though, it doesn't feel like a finale. It just feels like another story. Like it doesn't like tie up the details of the boys from the dwarf.
Yeah, because like in season 7 and 8, we had Kachansky, and then she disappeared for Back to Earth, and then just never came back again.
I'm sure at the beginning of Back to Earth, we get some kind of thing that says about it, because they always do that.
They said at the end of like the episode, because it was like a big mystery, like what happened to her, because Lisa thought she died, and it wasn't that. She literally just like left him because he was such a slob.
Yeah,
but it ends with them going, "Oh, we're gonna go look for her." Then they just never brought it up again.
Maybe I feel like he does need, even if it's just like a one kind of 40-minute episode. Let's say that it's the end, because I don't think the movie was even saying that. Let's just say it's the end and tie up all their stories, because these stories have now been going on for 35 or 33 years. Well, no, yeah, 36 years. Fucking hell. Let's finish it. Let's finish the story.
Yeah,
it's so unsatisfying with these ones that keep going, because Only Fools and Horses did it as well, and then with their spin-off of Rock and Chips, it never got finished. And that's so unsatisfying.
But I feel like with Red Dwarf, like it doesn't, because like when the way season 8 ends was really like shocking as well, because it's the one where like they bring back the crew from like the Red Dwarf.
Oh yeah.
And then like their ship is on fire or whatever. They go back to and then they just disappear. You have no idea what happened on the dwarf or anything.
Yeah, I need to rewatch it. I think 8 of the original run is the weakest series. I don't think I've watched it nearly as much as the others. I feel like 1 to 6 I've watched, in that same way I've watched 2 to 12 of The Simpsons. I've watched that like a lot.
I watched a lot of season 7 because I was actually quite a fan of the dynamic with Kachansky.
Yeah, I do like Kachansky, but I prefer Rimmer.
Was this when he was filming, what was that show he did when he was like the head of like a swimming pool?
British Empire.
Yeah, is that why he left?
I think that's why he was filming it. It clashed.
Yeah,
he had already signed on to do British Empire first. Plus, he was the lead in that. He wasn't like a shared lead.
Yeah.
Yeah. He does come back, though. He's in 2 episodes of that one. And then he's in 1 or 2 of 8 as well.
He's in the whole of 8.
Oh, yeah. Oh, it's with both of them, isn't he? Yeah, but he's in a couple of episodes of 7. He's not in all of them.
He's
only
in
like
the
bit
first
parts.
2, and then he has a bit part in, I think, episode 5.
Yeah. Because he actually becomes Ace Rimmer, doesn't he? And it turns out that it's like a lineage passed down.
Lineage of it, yeah. And then there's the episode where Lisa misses him. He has that dream where he makes out with him.
Yeah, which I assume they just filmed when he was there.
Yeah.
Oh, I really enjoyed that, Tim. That was good fun.
That was a lot of fun, but now we have to go back to our regular schedule, which means you're hosting.
I know, we're back on all the numbers again. We're back to how we very started this podcast. I'm back on the odd numbered episodes, you're back on the even number episodes.
You know why, Bobby? You know why? Because you're odd.
You did the same joke I did to you. Yes, well done. Well done, Tim. Fucking stealing my own jokes.
Wait, it's 20 episodes to get you back.
I was 99% sure you were going to do that. I kind of saw it coming. So, I was thinking, what kind of thing haven't we done? What kind of thing that I love haven't we done? And I thought, we've not covered any gangster movies at all. And I thought, where do we start? Godfather. Godfather is an epic. Or Goodfellas. Goodfellas is possibly my favourite film of all time. I love that movie. But the most quotable movie of all time, and I'm saying this because every other line is fucking hilarious or brilliant or savage. Tim, we're going to watch Snatch.
Ooh. Guy Ritchie, right?
Guy Ritchie, written and directed, starring Jason Statham and featuring Brad Pitt, and just a great movie, great cast. Vinnie Jones is in it as well. And oh, no,
WWE legend Vinnie Jones
knocked out Triple H with one punch. Yeah, no, it's a really good movie, and I added it to our list, and you hadn't ticked it off to say you'd seen it. And I was like, Tim hasn't seen Snatch. Interesting. And there's just for lulz, there's also a bit of bonus content that I want you to watch.
Okay.
It's on YouTube, and it's called Snatch Wars. And they take it's about 10 minutes. You don't worry about taking notes. Just enjoy it.
Okay.
Watch the movie first. Watch Snatch first.
Snatch Wars.
Then watch Snatch Wars, and they have dubbed one of the lead characters called Bricktop. They have dubbed all his lines over Darth Vader. It's fucking hilarious.
Okay, I will do that.
If you want to follow me on the socials, I am bdavies_creative. That is on Instagram and X, and that's it, really. Follow Purpose Wrestling on everything, at Purpose Wrestling, except for X, where it's at Wrestle Purpose. Follow us on YouTube as well, Purpose on YouTube, and follow this show on YouTube. We'll talk about that in a second. Follow us, follow Purpose Wrestling on YouTube. Get loads of lovely free content on there, and you hear more of my voice as well. Tim, where can we find you?
You're telling them away from Purpose Wrestling?
Shut up, Tim.
You can find
I'm going to quote Snatch at you. Just all the violent fucking things they say to each other.
Jeez. You can find me on all the social media. Well, I say all the social media. Twitter, which I barely use. I literally just lurk on there. TikTok and Instagram, you can find me at the Tim Martini. You can also find my music on Spotify. Go, give it a listen. I work hard on it, so please listen. And if you want to follow this podcast, we are available on Twitter, Threads, TikTok, Instagram at CC Society Pod. We are on Reddit at user/CC Society Pod.
Yeah.
We are on Facebook
/CC Society Pod.
/CC Society Pod. You can send us an email at ccsocietypod@gmail.com. If you're watching us or listening to us on Spotify, go over to YouTube. If you're on YouTube, do the other way round. Like, subscribe, hit the notification bell, comments, interact with us.
Yeah, we'd love a chat.
Do all that jazz.
I'd like to hear what some of the American listeners we got think of some of the British stuff we talked about, if they've been able to try and watch it. There's VPNs out there, you can find it.
Yeah, they should just find this stuff. But until then, I've been Tim Martini.
Tim, smoke me a kipper. I'll be back for breakfast.
And so see you next time.
I'll take you, I want you, salute you.